Welcome to Tommyfiled Live, a chance to meet. Let's join the audience now, live from our radio theatre stage.
Good afternoon everyone. Yes, you're listening to Oldham Community Radio, broadcasting on 99.7 FM, and it's a chance to meet with Gearld Brierley, and I'm pleased to say that our chance to meet today is the leader of Oldham Council, Councillor Arooj Shah. Good afternoon, Arooj.
Good afternoon, everybody.
And thank you very much for coming. It's not a political chat, this. I think that we'll save that for another day, if you don't mind. It's about finding out the lady behind the position, if you like. So let's go back to the very roots of your family. Your mum, your dad, brothers and sisters, etc. Tell us about your family.
So my parents came over in the early 60s. Well, my dad came in the early 60s, my mum joined him in the mid 60s, a couple of years later. And actually, it's quite an interesting story because it wasn't my dad who was supposed to come over from Pakistan, it was his elder brother. But somebody had told his elder brother in the village some stories about, oh my God, it's a completely different language, you know, people speak differently. We don't know whether we're going to be received well or not. So my uncle, who was older than my dad, just freaked out last minute and said, I'm not going to go.
He bottled it.
He absolutely bottled it. And my dad was a lot more rebellious than my uncle and a lot more like daring and saw it as a really, really interesting opportunity. So he grasped that opportunity, and I often reflect actually how different my life would have been if it wasn't my dad who came over and it was my uncle, because my uncle's family stayed in Pakistan. So thankfully, because of my dad's bravery and his, I don't know, you can call it either ambitious sort of attitude towards life or just rebellious attitude towards life, he's the one who took the plunge and came over. So they came and they moved to Oldham, and my dad worked in the mills like many people who came over at that time did, and moved into Glodwick, and I've been there ever since. So there's me and my 7 siblings. I'm the one in the middle, and I always think there's an interesting story about the person in the middle because they never get the attention that the elder ones get because poor me, and they never get the attention that the younger ones get. So I was always sort of like left freely to do as I pleased, and I think that's where I developed my sort of desire to just do things out of the box all the time. I think I've got, I'm quite vocal and quite passionate about things, and I think that I have a lot to contribute, but my mum just thought I was somebody who didn't listen. So that was her interpretation of like my sort of view to life. And then there's 7 of us. I think all of us are still here. I think one of my sisters is the one who moved back to Pakistan because she got married to somebody in the army, so she moved back there. But the rest of us are all here, doing really well.
When your dad first came over, did he come over by himself and leave a family there, or did the family come at the same time?
No, so my dad came on his own, and then my mum joined him years later, and then all my siblings, all of us were born here after that, so it was just him on his own. And at the time he told me that he moved into a house that had about 15 other people living there, and they were all like men who'd come over to build a better life for themselves, and their families all tended to join them later. But initially, I think before my eldest 2 siblings were born, at that point they were still living in a house where there was about 5-6 families in that same house. All the men were mill workers, and the women just were homemakers.
Well, when I was a lad in St Mary's Ward, there was a family of Pakistani lads, like you're saying, and there were quite a number of them living in the same house, and they were working shifts, either in the cotton mill or, from memory, some of them at Parkgate bakeries. My dad was in the cotton mills. He was in the cotton mills, and we're still in that same house actually. We've never moved. And people often ask me, oh, are you never going to move? My siblings have. Obviously, they've moved out and towards the suburbs and stuff, but I still live at home with my mum. I lost my dad in 2018. I was going to ask that. I lost my dad in 2018, so I still live at home with my mum in that same house. And interestingly enough, I was told by a colleague who I used to work with when I worked for the MP, who still works for the MP, and she told me that her partner actually used to live in the cellar of our house, which I found really bizarre, that it was like sectioned off to 3 floors,
and there were families living on all floors, because at that time there were a lot of Irish people that were coming over as well for work. And he was part of the Irish community that moved over. So I always find that interesting. But we're in the same house, so that's the only house that I've ever known. So there's a lot of comfort and emotion attached to that house for my mum as well and for me. So yeah, we're still there.
We've got to fit 6 tunes in.
Oh yeah, brilliant.
And the first of those tunes, Starship, Nothing's Going to Stop Us Now.
Yeah.
Is there a significance behind that?
There's a significance to all the songs that you're going to play today, and I think the significance of this it was just a really, really happy time. We were living in like a multi-generational household with my dad's brother, and his 5 children, his wife and his 5 children, my mum's brother, and my dad's nephew. And they were just really happy times, but that always gave me hope and aspiration, and all my siblings connected to this song. So that's why it's really important. It sort of identifies that time in my life that was just really, really jolly and happy all the time. We didn't have a lot of money, but there was a lot of love. And that was something that we just felt empowered by all the time. And it was it's a soundtrack of a movie, actually, of a mannequin that comes to life. And I used to always think, God, this would be amazing if I had the powers to just have switch on and off. It would be just incredible. So yeah.
Right, so let's hear that now. Starship, Nothing's Going to Stop Us Now. Right, welcome back to A Chance to Meet, and the chance to meet Arooj Shah, the leader of Oldham Council. And your first choice of music there, Starship, Nothing's Going to Stop Us Now. You told us why, and previously we talked about the family, how your parents started in Pakistan, came over here. You told us about the siblings and poor little Arooj being the middle one.
Yeah, left out all the time.
Poor little thing. But you seem to have had a very, very happy childhood. Arooj.
Yeah, incredible.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's just it, isn't it? I think for me, I think we didn't have much money, but we were okay. But the love was always there, and we were a really close-knit and tight-knit family, and we still are, and I think that's a blessing. I think that's incredible, and it's where I get my strength and my resilience from. And I made friends along life, but actually I've never really needed the need for friends as such, because I think we're just so connected and so close as a family, as siblings and stuff. So I remember as we were growing up, and because as I explained previously, that we had, my dad's brother there with his 5 children, and his
So your dad's brother eventually did come over?
Yeah.
Oh, right.
Oh no, but the younger one. So the elder one still didn't.
Okay.
It was a younger one, yeah.
Right.
And so his wife joined us, and then they had 5 kids over the years. And then it was my dad's nephew and my mum's brother as well who joined us. Us siblings like topped and tail in one room, and we had some of the best times in our life. And we would do things and read books and just do really lovely things together. And that bond's always been there, and thankfully it's still there to this day.
Well, I'm from a large family, and I get it. It's tremendous.
It is.
And then you touched on it there. In one sense, you don't need friends.
No.
Because you've got family.
Yeah.
But on another level, you've got to go out and find friends.
Yeah.
You can't be an island all your time.
No.
What about family holidays, Arooj? Did you get to places?
No, we didn't.
Not even day trips to Southport?
No, we actually didn't. We didn't. But it's really bizarre, because I don't think I missed out by not doing that either. I think I just had a really deep understanding of the kind of responsibilities that my parents had. So my dad came over to make obviously his wife and his kids' lives better, but actually had responsibilities to his parents. Well, his dad died at a very young age, but to his mum, who was still in Pakistan, to his brothers, to his sisters. So he had quite a lot of financial responsibilities. So we didn't really get many holidays, and I can remember that my parents didn't even get to see any of their immediate family in Pakistan. Now it's really common in this day and age. People go every year or every 2 years. But I remember my dad going back to Pakistan after 15 years of being here, and so I think that must have been really tough. So we never got day trips on them, because their lives were about, my mum's was about, being the homemaker and making sure everybody was looked after and fed and was clean and everything else. And my dad's was just earning money. So he'd often, to be fair, I don't even remember much of seeing my dad when I was a child, because I think when we used to get up in the morning, he'd already left for work. And when we'd go to bed, he still wasn't back.
Did he stay in the mills? Because the cotton industry declined, didn't it?
Yeah, it didn't, yeah. But he didn't, he worked all up until the point where the mills did decline. And then he didn't work after that. By that time, we were all older and everybody was like, you know, had a part-time job, or we were all right, and financially, everybody was picking up their own responsibilities. And I think I did at a young age. I think all my siblings did at a young age. We all worked, and I think there was Quick Save in Glodick Road. I don't know whether people remember that, but my sister got a job there, my older sister. So everybody was always financially contributing to the household in that sense.
Yeah. Which schools did you go to? Primary school, secondary school?
So I went to Glodick Infants.
Sometimes pronounced a particular education officer in Oldham, when I taught in Oldham, used to call it Glodwick. Glodwick.
Yeah. But I went to Glodick Infants, Alexandra Park Junior School, and then I went to Council School for a year, and my parents were just really, well, we're quite a religious family anyway. Obviously I'm Muslim by faith, and they wanted me to go to a school of faith. So they put me and my elder sister into St. Augustine's, which was a Catholic school, just so we'd have that sort of sense of faith and the strong connection to faith. And they believed that there would be discipline within the school, and there was. And when me and my sister joined, there was only 10% of non-Catholic people that they allowed admission into that school. So there was only a few of us trickled over the years, but it was a fantastic school, and I had some of the best times of my life in that school.
That's something else we have in common then, because my two oldest daughters started at St. Augustine's.
Oh wow.
Yeah. I think it's time for the second track, Arooj. Cyndi Lauper, Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Is that summing you up?
That does sum me up. That's before life hits and you actually know that not all of life isn't fun. So yeah, that was when I was just like really keen and had this zest and like drive to like be the, you know, I used to sit there thinking when I was a child, I'm going to be the Prime Minister one day. So I always had grand ambitions, and that song again motivated me.
There's still a chance.
I hope so.
Let's hear it then. Girls Just Want to Have Fun. Welcome back to A Chance to Meet with Gearld Brierley, and today's guest on A Chance to Meet, Oldham's Council Leader Arooj Shah. We've got you as far as St. Augustine's School, Arooj, which a certain peripatetic music teacher used to call, jokingly, St. Disgustings.
Oh, loving that. It's brilliant.
Yeah, I'm glad that it was brilliant. What subjects were your favourite subjects then?
Geography.
Yeah.
Geography was my main. I was so absolutely, and I shouldn't say this as council leader, but trust me, we have a really fantastic monitoring officer at the council, but I was really poor at maths. I had to resit it like 3 times. I just couldn't grasp numbers for some reason. But geography was my favourite, and history. And I think I liked history more because I was very fond of the history teacher actually.
Come on, name some names.
So Mr. McGladry, he was called,
right.
And he was just fantastic. He just had this aura about him and this way of teaching history, which made you. And I'm a bit of I always feel like I'm not made for this generation, and I always feel like I should have been from like a part of history where, you know, women just lived in great manners and were well-to-do, and I just have a connection to that kind of era.
For you,
yeah, absolutely. I think so. I think somebody should peel grapes for me now. But I always felt a connection to that sort of era, you know, sort of that period of time. And I just felt like every time he taught a history, I found myself so lost and embroiled in it that I felt like I had a connection. So he was fantastic. And I think when you have inspirational teachers like that, you take something about them through your life. And I think I was just blessed in that way with him.
Well, I told you off air that 2 of my daughters went to St. Augustine's for a while, and it seemed to have a reputation for rugby and brass bands.
Yeah.
Were you connected with either?
I wasn't, unfortunately. Yeah, I mean, even...
You could have made us a good scrum half, you know.
Yeah, do you reckon? But I wasn't at all connected to them. But yeah, rugby was it was a huge thing.
Yes.
But yeah, unfortunately, I wasn't connected to it.
Because I don't know whether it would still be there at the time, Larry Kearns, who taught there, who sang with the Oldham Tinkers.
Oh right, no, I don't recall that. No.
But also, off air, you mentioned, and I hope he's listening because he's a good friend of mine, Mr. Scully.
Yeah, you know Mr. Scully, I met him at Arkwright's tip a couple of Sundays ago, and I was rushing around just trying to get it in before I was going out to a door knock, and I just, you know, when your eyes connect to somebody, and I thought, oh my God, I know him. I was like, that's Mr. Scully. And he was like, Arooj. And we both said, he said Arooj, and I said Mr. Scully at the same time. And I just
let you call him Terry these
But you know what I did? I was so excited about seeing him that I just like, I think he thought I was a bit weird because I just like gave him this big hug. But it was just because I was so excited about seeing him after such a long time. And it was just lovely. And he was just telling me how proud he was and I was doing well. And I was just like, I'm so glad you feel that way. And I did say to him, I said, feel free to let me know if you feel like I'm doing anything in my position as leader that you don't approve of. I'd really welcome.
You gave him that opportunity?
Yeah, I did, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, so it was really good to see him.
Right. I'll just mention one more name from then, which was Mr. Crosby. Did you come across Mr. Crosby?
Mr. Crosby, yes.
Yeah.
He never taught me. Did he do geography?
It was mostly RE and English, I
RE
think.
and English, yes. But I do remember Mr. Crosby, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, they were incredible teachers at that time, and the whole school gave me a sense of like, you know, it is daunting, you know, you can't take away from the fact that you're Pakistani heritage and you're a Muslim and you go into a Catholic school, you know that there's not many people that look like you, but it was so warm and so welcoming.
So how did you go on in religion classes? Did you withdraw from them?
No, not at all. Not
right.
at all, because like my parents were always very strongly, and I was a firm believer, and I believe this too, that you respect all faiths and even people of no faith. But we took everything that came along with going to a Catholic school very seriously. So we joined like prayers in the morning and everything else. We did that and we respected that. Yeah. And that's the whole point. My parents wanted us to have respect and discipline, and we got that at that school.
So you didn't do any rugby, but did you do any sports at all?
Oh my God, no. I'm probably the most unfit person on the planet. What I do enjoy is walking, and I think that's more to like just like de-stress is the best way I would put it. But I'm not very sporty in that sense. I'd love to be. I joined the gym once and I just didn't enjoy it. I found it really boring.
Right.
So I stopped doing that. But I love walking and like countryside and stuff.
When you joined the gym, did you go to classes or just do your own thing?
I did my own thing. I'm a bit weird,
right?
Gearld,
that was perhaps
in
the
that sense.
mistake then.
Yeah, no, I am a bit weird. I'm not. You know, politics requires you to be. So in this saying, I'm like, you know, I can speak to people and I love people and I get energy from people, but actually, I'm quite introverted and I'm quite socially awkward as well. So if I know people, I could speak really easily. But it has to be about an issue or something generic. Otherwise, I'm quite closed off. I'm not really good at sort of, you know, and that's why I think, I don't know whether I struggle to make friends because of that reason.
I don't understand what you mean by generic in that sense.
So for example, if we were talking about the weather or sports, or like we're having a chat right now and it's specific questions, it's fine. But I think on a one-to-one, I struggle a lot more.
Right. Do you have any hobbies apart from walking?
I love reading books.
Reading?
Yeah, I do. I love reading books. But I have my change in books has changed as I've grown older as well. I think I used to love reading books that weren't about reality and things like that, but now I'm more about biopics and people's lives and that kind of thing.
Right. Do you have a favourite author?
You know what? I have many authors that I really, really love. But I think now I'm more on a spiritual journey, so I tend to read a lot of stuff about just spiritual healing and stuff like that, so not really, you know.
We had I called her an authoress the other week in the studio, and I was almost shot down in flames. You can't say authoress these days. You can't say actress. It's authors and actors.
Yeah.
Can I put that to you and ask if you have a reaction to it?
No, I wouldn't have a reaction to that. I think, like, for me, I think obviously I can understand why people might feel like that, because, you know, there is a lot where equality is still such a massive issue and women don't get treated or respected in the same way that men do. But I wouldn't have a reaction to that. I just think there's people of certain generations that speak in a certain way.
Time for tune number 3. Katy Perry, Roar. Why?
So Raw was a really timely song. I'd lost my election in 2016 because, not for any other reason than I was a councillor in St Mary's, the area that I live in, but I think a group of Asian men who felt like I didn't conform to what their standards of me were ousted me of an election. And then in 2018, when I got selected and elected again in a different ward, that song came out at the same time, so it's like there's a connection.
Good enough reason.
Yeah.
So let's hear Katy Perry with Raw. Welcome back to a chance to meet with Gearld Brierley and the chance to meet our council leader Arooj Shah. And we just played Katy Perry, Raw, and the significance was that you just won an election in Worth.
No, it was St Mary's ward. So basically what had happened was I was elected in St Mary's ward from 2012, and I was up for re-election in 2016, and I had all I ever wanted to do, that's Glodick, so part of my community where I was born and raised, and all I wanted to do was make a really positive contribution to the area that I live in, that I've been brought up in, and that means so much to me. And I think I was really naive when I got involved in politics, and I had thought people would be happy that I had that energy and everything else, but I was always really ambitious as well. I've always been ambitious, and I've never hid my ambition, and that's really naive in politics because other people may feel threatened by it. So I threw myself into my responsibilities, door knock, spoke to residents regularly.
Up in St Mary's? No?
Everywhere, like Glodick, Salem, St Mary's Estate, Higginshaw, everywhere. I had so much energy, and I did that. But I quite quickly realised that certainly people at that point from my own community, and predominantly Asian men, didn't take to that too well. And I think the more I reflect on it, it was because I worked really hard, but I just didn't conform to what their expectations of me were, and I had a mind of my own. And I was in a ward where the Labour Party was winning by, thousands, like 2,000 or 3,000 majority, or 2,000 majority, or 1,000 majority. So if justice had been served at that point, I should have won, but actually what happened was they all got together, and it was cross-party elected officials. So I'm a member of the Labour Party, but there was Labour Party members that were involved in wanting to oust me out of that election. And it was a really difficult time because I couldn't understand why people would behave in that way towards me, and why they didn't take me for who I was. And it was tough, but I fought a really clean election and worked my best, and I lost by just under 200 votes. And then I got selected and elected again in 2018 in Chadderton South, and Katy Perry's song meant so much to me in that sense, because it was everything that I wanted to say to these people, that you might think that you had defeated me, but that was God's plan for me, and I've come out a lot stronger, and I will always fight. And what you did was you made me more resilient and built my resolve.
Now there's another song that we're going to play next, Arooj, and then after that you're going to tell us why this particular one is significant as well.
Okay.
And that's Christina Aguilera, Beautiful.
Yeah.
Okay, let's hear that. Welcome back to a chance to meet with Gearld Brierley and our guest, the leader of Oldham Council, Arooj Shah. We played that particular music because it was significant, but you're now going to tell us why. Christina Aguilera, Beautiful.
So I think the difficult side of being in a public role, such as leader of the council or even an elected member, is the hate and the abuse that you get. And I think for me that song has significance because it's just about a message to people to say that you might disagree with people, and it's fine to disagree with people, but it doesn't hurt, and we can still be kind and still disagree. I think a significant sort of part of that comes from the fact that when I get some of the hurt and abuse, I think people don't understand. So for example, if we were politically had differences, or policy-wise, if you and I, Gearld, had differences, that's fine and that's okay because that's democracy, isn't it? I think, but when that becomes personalised and it has an impact on you. So if, like, for example, if I say something that somebody doesn't like or somebody doesn't approve about, or if I come out with a policy or share a view that somebody doesn't approve about, and they make it really personal, it impacts me, of course it does, and it does impact your mental well-being, but it also hurts every single member of your family and your loved ones and your friends and everybody else. And I think that song came at it's always been close to my heart, that in that sense. But you know, we spoke in the break about the issue with my car and how that got torched, and I think it was the most difficult time for me, because I have a tendency, you know, when I finish work and if I'm on a call, I'll just stay sat in my car and I'll continue the call. It's just a habit I have, and then so when I'd got in really late and I'd gone upstairs and I heard like a loud bang, and you know how people have fireworks going off at really unreasonable and annoying times of the night. I thought it was that, but I'd heard like a pop. Anyway, I came in, my mum was still in bed, and then I just heard shouting. So what time of day was this? So it was at 12:30 at night. Right. So it was, and then I heard somebody like running up and down the stairs, and I was like, oh my God, what's that? And it was literally, my mum was freaking out because she thought I might have been sat in the car. And I found that really difficult, and I just thought that's the side that people don't see, and that's what we don't ask to be involved in, and we don't ask for that kind of hate, and it has such a huge impact on so many people. And it felt so personal, because I think when somebody goes to that extent to do something like that, they are telling you that it's more than they don't agree with you or they disagree with you. It feels like hate, and that's really, really strong and really harsh, and I think that's why I have a lot of connection with that song, because I think it just symbolises, you know, how certain people's actions or attitudes towards you can impact them, and it's about just being kind to people.
And the treatment you got in St Mary's Ward said made you stronger. Did the incident with the car make you even stronger again? Or possibly not?
You know so you know everything else, so I get loads of abuse, and I think I get it a lot than a lot of people in public life do, and I think that's for a couple of reasons. I think it's because I've always identified this country as my home. You know, I was born here, but I realise as I get older that actually some people see you for the colour of your skin. So if I do something really good, she's the leader of the council, and if I do something really like that they don't approve of, or they don't agree with politically, they'll say, oh, it's the brown woman, or it's the Muslim leader, and that's really, really difficult. But you know, the car thing felt like real hate, and I don't think I'm dealing with that well. Yeah. So I try not to think about it. So even now I'm having to really compose myself, but that's the one thing, I don't know why, but the car thing, I will have to say, has really impacted me, because it felt so personal. And it's not just that. At the time it happened, I wanted to like cry, and I couldn't, because I watched my mum, and I had to stay composed to make sure she was all right. And then my brother came, and he was really angry, and I had to stay composed again, because he's a young lad, and I thought if he tries looking for these people, my God, so you know.
Let's move on, Arooj. When you left St Augustine's, you eventually went on to university.
Yeah.
Tell us about the university.
You know, I was I must have looked so sad to people when I was at uni, because I originally went to Leeds University, and I left after about 3 weeks because I was away from home, and I couldn't take being away from home. Then I went to the University of Central Lancashire, and I did the same again. I joined for a couple of months, and I couldn't take it being away from home. And then I went to De Montfort University, and the reason why I went to De Montfort University in Leicester was because I had cousins there, and there were a group of girls, and a lot younger than me actually, but I was in like a family setting, so that worked for me. But I realised that when I was at uni, I didn't really maximise the opportunity of being away from home, or university life, or student life in that sense. I'd literally go to my lectures and then go home, and then go to my lectures and go home. So I've always been a bit, you know, when I say I'm a bit socially not, you know, I just feel really, really protected and comfortable and safe when I'm at home. Right. And I think it's because, I don't know what the reason is, but yeah, so I went to De Montfort, and it's really diverse. So when I went to De Montfort, it's interesting actually, it's progressed a lot more than Oldham is. So when I came back to Oldham, I wanted to serve my community, because my friends who were at uni and people that were on my course had actually gone off to London and everywhere else to fulfil their ambitions. I came home and wanted to contribute, but I noticed that our communities hadn't progressed, and that was a hard lesson for me.
Right. So that's something else we have in common. Yeah. Because my oldest daughter went to De Montfort.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
It's really good university.
And she first year she was in Filbert Street next to the football ground.
I know Filbert Street. Yeah, I do. Yeah, one of my relatives had a manufacturing factory on Filbert Street.
Right. So, what subjects did you do at uni?
Politics and international relations.
Oh, there's a surprise.
I went to do law. I actually went to do law, and it was one of the course tutors who said, "No, Arooj, do international relations, do politics, you'll be fantastic at it." And I've never looked back.
Never looked back. Okay. Yeah. So, after uni, what job did you go into?
So when I came back after university, I started working for the then MP Phil Willis for about 6 weeks until he lost his seat. Then I worked for Debbie Abrahams, and then I went to work for Hazel Blaze in Salford, and then I worked for Jim McMahon in Oldham Western Writing, and I was on the cabinet and a councillor then, and then I just eventually became leader of the council.
Then you just took over?
Yeah. I did say I was ambitious. So yeah.
Where did your interest in politics come from? When did it start?
I think I always had a fire in my belly, to be honest with you, from a really young age. I always questioned things a lot. I always I never ever took anybody's word for anything. I had to find things out for myself. And I just felt like things had to be better all the time, and nothing was if the streets where I lived near were dirty, I wanted to know why they were dirty, I wanted to know why we weren't clean. I always had something about me that was different, I think, in that regard. And my mum always says to me that you were the one child that didn't ever listen because you asked too many questions.
Right, it's time for tune number 5, and then we'll come back and ask why it was the Labour Party.
Yep.
Tune number 5, Tom Walker, Just You and I.
Yeah.
Is there a reason for that?
Yeah, because I think when you go through certain things in life, sometimes I'm really, really connected to my faith in God, and sometimes I think you have to accept that it feels really isolated in the world, and when you're trying to do things, and I'm quite closed off in that sense, so it's just sometimes it's just something I connect with spiritually.
Tom Walker, Just You and I. Welcome back. Just a few minutes left now, chatting to today's guest on A Chance to Meet, our council leader Arooj Shah, and we've now moved on a little bit towards politics. And why the Labour Party then?
It just identified the most with my values, and I think it was the party that supported my dad as well when he first got here as well. It was a party that recognised that people might be of different colours and different creeds, but actually we all deserve to be respected and treated with respect and the same opportunities in life. So it's just always resonated with me in that sense. And I've always fought for the underdog as well, so that song that we just played,
yes,
it is about loyalty as well.
Right.
And so I think just fighting for the underdog has been part of my politics.
Now, you became leader, Arooj, when Sean Fielding lost his seat in Failsworth.
Yeah.
So it must have been somewhat of a surprise, I would have thought.
A massive surprise. We were there on the night, a massive surprise. And Sean is a really hard-working local champion, actually, for the community that he represented. And I think it was about 9:45. And he sent me a message and he said, "Oh, I think I've lost." And I was like, "What?" Because nobody was expecting it, and I wasn't expecting it. So yeah, it was a massive surprise.
And is the job what you expected, or worse, or better, or?
I feel hugely honoured and privileged to be in the position that I am, and it's really tough because there's a lot that the council needs public understanding for, but I'm there as chief resident, and one of the lessons and one of the things that my mum said to me when I became leader, I was upset because my dad had passed away, and I just knew that if he knew I was leader, he would have been so proud, because when I became deputy leader in 2018, he'd already passed away by that time, and I remember saying to my mum that I wish my dad was here. And she actually said to me, and I said, "But I'm scared because it's the job I've always wanted, but now I've got it. I'm really bloody scared.
Yeah.
Am I going to do a good job? Am I not?" And she said to me, Arooj, she said, you are not the council. When you make a decision and when you're sat in that seat, you are chief resident. And if every decision you make and everything you've done in that day is about improving the lives of the people in Oldham, then you've done a job well. And if you can never answer that question and say you've done that, then you're not doing well. So I just thought, well, that's my mum for you, straight talking. But that's how I see myself as a chief resident, and everything I do and everything that I try to do will be to improve the lives of the people that live in Oldham.
So who did you choose as your team?
So I've got Councillor Abdul Jabbar and Amanda Chatterton, who are my deputy leaders, and then I have a cabinet made up of former council leader Jean Stretton, Councillor Hannah Roberts, Councillor Eddie Moores, Councillor Shaheen Mushtaq, and Councillor Zahid Chauhan. I hope I haven't forgotten any one of them if they're listening.
No, well, you'd be in bother if you have.
Yeah.
You've got a particular shirt on.
Oh yeah, Oldham made. So this is a quirky shop that will open on the 1st of March till the 31st of March, just next door to the phone shop and near the body shop in the town square. And this shop is just an opportunity. When we did the town centre consultation, when we were discussing our regeneration plans, we spoke to loads of businesses, and this shop is going to be a pop-up business shop where everybody across Oldham, our business entrepreneurs, can showcase their talents. So it will have gifts, clothes, snacks, everything, but they will all have an opportunity to showcase their business and their talents over that month. So please do pop in and support them.
Starting when?
1st of March and up till the 31st of March.
So it's just a 1 month trial?
Yeah, really? It is. So it's just an opportunity to allow local businesses to showcase what they have, and to encourage people to support local businesses, really.
Now, I'm going to give you an alternative here to the shirt that you're currently wearing.
Yeah.
We'd like to offer you one of these.
I'd love to have a little
Oldham Community Radio
I'd love
shirt.
to. I'd be honoured to do that.
And somebody has got the delicate task of asking you what size you want, but
shall I leave that for off air? Yeah.
But we've got some over there.
Perfect.
I hope you've enjoyed today.
I have.
And
Thank you so much.
I've done my best to avoid the questions that my friends wanted to put to you. Ask her this and ask her that, and why hasn't that happened?
Yep.
But what I would like to do is to invite you back and ask some of those questions that are indeed a little bit more political.
Of course, I'd love to come back.
By you?
Yes, definitely, I will definitely come back.
Right, and hopefully we've timed it well enough to go up to the news with the last tune, which is Maroon 5, Girls Like You. And if all girls are like you, we've got a cracking world.
Oh, so thank you so much.
Explain why that was.
So if you watch the video to this, so firstly, the love of my life is Adam Levine, who's the main singer in Maroon 5. But the other thing is, I am pointing at you, Gerald, you can be the love of my life too. But the second thing is, if you actually get to watch the video, it's about embracing women of all colours, shapes, sizes, everything. So that's why I really love this song.
Excellent. Can we go with that, Phil? Thank you very much. I think it does deserve a round of applause.